here. Another great opportunity to compete for a national championship, and I know the guys are excited, and we were fortunate enough to play out here in the beginning of the season to open up, so we're a little bit comfortable with the venue as well. And got a great group of guys. I got 8 seniors that have been through this a little bit over the past few years, and these guys made the Final Four in 012, and last year made the playing game, and then had a great body of work this year and put us in a great position to compete again. So we're thrilled to be here.
Open it up to questions.
Coach, you look at Penn State, you've played them twice before. What can you take away from those 2 matches as you get ready for tomorrow night?
I think some familiarity. I think a lot of people would make the statement, oh, it's tough to beat a team 3 times. I think the way we're looking at it, this is the first time we're playing them right now in this venue. But we have some familiarity with them in terms of playing them before and knowing the players. And I think you're seeing an intense match between both sides. But we're going to scout them just like we do anybody else. And they're a great team. They've got some great players on that squad. And we're going to have to do the things on our side from a discipline standpoint to be effective and go out and give ourselves a shot.
Jeff, what does it mean in terms of confidence and poise for having been here before?
I mean, we're blessed to be back, of course, and we know in 2012 we had a little shock because it was our first time in the whole spectacle of it all. But now that we're kind of seasoned, we have 8 seniors this year. We're kind of just ready to show what we can do.
Do you remember anything specifically from then that you would not do again or handle yourself differently?
Not really. I mean, it's just we've matured, through the years. So just showing that maturity on the court definitely be something good to do.
Coach, you look at your team the last 2 years. You guys made the NCAA tournament last year. How much did that experience help you guys moving into this season?
I think it's a lot. We were talking about it on the ride over, just in terms of logistics and handling media, handling the hotel, handling the moving around, all that stuff in terms of just, we're a little more laid back. We're more familiar with it. We're excited to be here, but at the same time, we kind of know how the whole routine runs, being efficient when you get on the practice, moving from one thing to the other thing, going to the All-American magazine, all that stuff that kind of goes with it. I think we're better prepared, I think, in that sense. I think asked that interesting question in terms of where I think we want to try out to start out in the whole 15-3 like we did at USC a few years ago. Do you know what I mean? I think I think we're a little bit more relaxed. I think being confident and loose will be important as we step out on the court against Penn State, and ultimately taking that as far as we can. So.
It's safe to assume it's a different Penn State team.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think you're seeing a much. I wouldn't say necessarily poised, but I think they've just gotten better as the year's gone on. Do you know what I mean? I think Chris Nugent's inserted himself in the lineup, and he's been playing pretty consistent over the past few weeks. And they fixed some of those holes you might have seen earlier in the year with losing some senior leadership with the other Russell and some things like that in terms of where they're playing at. And they've just found a nice, good groove, I think, right now.
Eric, entering the season, I think the common volleyball fan was a little intrigued about how your offense would be losing BJ Bulldog. Can you just talk about how the offense has performed this season with your new setter who's hit the ground running?
I mean, when Scott entered, he did a fantastic job of picking up where BJ left off. I mean, we knew it was going to be a little different. Being on the court is a little different. Scott's a little more energetic. He loves having fun out there. And he's done a great job setting everyone, putting the hitters in good positions all year.
Yeah. I got 2 questions. I'm not going to screw up the second one, but you don't know the history on it. The first one, talk to me about Russell, both you, Jeff, and Dan, because
I'll let you go first.
I mean, he's a great player, of course. He's he's blessed to be so tall and really good down passing wise. I mean, we're ready. We're ready for him.
I think you're talking about a future Olympic guy. You know what I mean? Just a phenomenal player. And when we look to play him, we look to try to control him a little bit. You know what I mean? I mean, ultimately, he's going to get certain kills in certain situations. And I've got to work with him a couple times when he was even younger in national team stuff. And he's a great kid too. Do you know what I mean? So not only is he a great player, but just a great human being in terms of being around him and for his teammates. So we know that. Do you know what I mean? And so there's a lot of respect across the net. But that doesn't take anything away from what we're going to try to do and slow him down a little bit at the same time. Do you know what I mean? But he's a big cog in the wheel for those guys in terms of what they bring to the table, both from an attacker and from a leadership standpoint, all the stuff that he kind of brings.
Okay, here's the other question, and the reason we're laughing is because I screwed it up both times with previous coaches. Would you assess the Loyola-UCI match?
Assess it in terms of you're going to see a great volleyball match. I think you're seeing 2 similar offensive teams. They're both pretty fast. There's some physical differences in terms of the lefty on the opposite for Irvine this year. In terms of now Loyola's playing their 6'11" Ricky guy, so there's some differences there. But You know, they're both a serve, pass, offensive-orientated groups in terms of how they play volleyball. I think an X factor might be Brinkley. What does he do to the table in terms of his ability to control rallies, serve, receive, all that stuff? And so, an exciting match to watch between two, I think, really good clubs. And you know, we were fortunate to play both of them. So I think I have a pretty good idea on kind of how they play in terms of what's going on. And both of them have grown a lot since, you know, early part of the year. So it should be a great match. So.
Coach, talk about the genesis of your program and when you first got there and how you built basically an unknown, powerhouse.
Well, I don't know if necessarily unknown. I think in the sense of, you know, they went through their little hiccup period in terms of what happened.
Right.
But I think ultimately, you know, we brought in 15 freshmen back in 2005 and kind of built it from the ground up, you know, and brought those guys in. Those guys, by the time they were seniors, that group of guys in 2009, they went 21-9, beat UCLA, beat USC, and kind of started saying, hey, we can compete back at this level, got themselves ranked back in the top 15.
Right.
And what you saw this next group do over the course of the next 4 or 5 years was take that next step. It wasn't just about competing, but it was about, hey, let's put ourselves in the position to win a national championship. And I think we've got a collective group of guys that are blue-collar work ethic guys that, you know, maybe they weren't high on the radar for some other programs, and they came into our place and said, hey, I want to prove I can play at a high level. And they bought into the system that the coaching staff is doing and have really taken it far beyond even the expectations I think that I maybe even thought of in the beginning of that. And I'm excited for them. I'm excited to be part of them. You know, excited to call them my family in terms of what we do and how we do things. And I think it's been a great experience. And so I really appreciate everything those guys have done. Not only this group here, but the group that kind of reopened that up as freshmen when they started.
Right.
Eric and Jeff, this season you guys have had some huge aces and some big-time, especially Eric in the Amoeba getting back-to-back aces to win it. You know, for you guys, though, was it difficult getting that mindset of being able to just go back and rip it in critical situations and not ease up on the serve, or was it that just something that you guys have been born with when you started off with volleyball, just going back there and ripping it from the service line?
I think that starts out in practice. Every day in practice, doing your game serve. Coach says, serve 5 minutes, have it be your game serve. If you don't do that in practice, you won't be able to put it into a game. And then when we get in games, it's not really changing anything. It's not serving harder. It's just doing the same thing that we do in practice every day.
Yeah, and going on along with what he said, just we rely so much. We're a very defensive team, so putting a good serve on them puts the other team out of system, and then we can capitalize on defense, which is our strength. So just putting all that together is good.
Coach, this season, just a couple more questions for me, but this season you guys really scheduled aggressively in the non-conference. How much do you feel that helped you guys going into conference play this year?
It's huge, but I also think if you look back every single year I've been there, we've done that. Yeah, it's just part of what we do. I mean, I think if you want to play at the top level, if we wanted to put the program back there, you need to go schedule it. And if you look at us track record over the past 10 years, we're going west, we're going east, we're scheduling as tough as we can. We took some lumps in the beginning. You can look at the 2013 year, and we opened up Santa Barbara, 0-4, you know what I mean? But ultimately, it was good for us. I mean, in terms of what we were trying to do and how we were trying to do things. And I don't think that was any different this year in terms of, hey, let's go play Irvine, let's go play BYU, let's go play Stanford. And ultimately, taking care of business with some of those games both last year and this year put us in a good position in terms of what we were trying to do for the NCAA tournament, so, as well as conference play.
I do want to ask you about your assistant coach as well, Matt McCarthy. You know, this is the second year in a row he's been a 30 under 30 guy. Can you just talk about, you know, what he's brought to the team and how you were able to get a Ball State guy and get everyone to buy into having a Ball State guy in your
I'm
staff?
not sure we have long enough to talk about how much I appreciate Matt McCarthy, as well as Mark Denson. And both those guys are going on their 6th year with me. Mark was an undergrad and is now doing his graduate work. And Matt was a Ball State grad, which was like a big back-and-forth rivalry when he was playing, you know what I mean? But he walked up to me when he was a junior or senior and said, hey, I'm going to come coach for you. I said, no, you're not. You know, I'm going to come coach for you. And he's a Wheaton guy, which is north of Lewis. And so when he got done, he's like, hey, I want to come volunteer. I'm like, okay, fine, you can come volunteer. So he volunteers his first year. And you've seen him mature a ton. I don't think we could be here without him or without Mark in terms of what we're doing. It's just an important dynamic. You talk about the success, but it's not just the players being there for an extended period of time, but it's the coaching staff being there for an extended period of time and trusting each other and be able to work through things. And yeah, and he's a good friend. Do you know what I mean? In terms of just our relationship and how we do things and all that stuff. So I think very highly of both him and Mark and what they've done for me.